Hello and welcome back to Kerbal Space Project with me, Proximace. This is episode 4 and we're carrying straight on where we left off with our wonderfully eccentric lunar lander, the SS Crater, in an orbit around the moon. So what we're going to try and do now is add in a maneuver to, gently as possible, not crash. So that'll be fun. So just add, we'll try and bring it down on the bright side of the moon just because it helps to be able to see what you're doing. Okay, now we're all lined up. Just before we do the maneuver, speed up, we're going to take in these panels. There's no atmosphere, so it's not like they're going to burn up and blow off, but we kind of want to keep them intact as much as possible. And because we're not using mech jet, we're not draining on the power so much. We're going to lower all of these landing struts so we don't have to do it in a hurry when we're 16 inches off of the ground. You know, if we were 18 inches off the ground that would be fine, but no, 16 inches is too close. So yeah, that looks about right. The ladder's come down to a good place, so let's try and land this thing. So as we're kind of just coming up to the retro burn point, there's a kind of issue with landing on anything but Kerbin, and landing on Kerbin itself to some extent is the ground isn't at zero, and you don't always know where the ground is, that it's not at zero. I've landed on the moon a couple of times in other saves I've had, and the ground is anywhere between a couple hundred meters and 2,000. So yeah, that's awkward. So what we're going to try and do is just kill as much speed as we can about 3,000 meters above zero, and then just kind of maintain a low enough speed so that when we start coming down, hopefully we'll be in sunlight, we'll cast a shadow, and we can kind of catch ourselves before we slam into the ground at high speed. So there we go. We've completed that retro burn, so now we're on course for eventual collision with the surface. So what I'm going to do is basically throughout the entire descent point at the retrograde marker, i.e. point backwards, so that by firing while always pointing it here we'll eventually come to a vertical descent. We'll kill all our horizontal speed, we'll kill most of our vertical speed, and then we can just slowly drop down. So I'm just going to speed up until we get a little bit closer to the ground, because there's no point in doing anything at 100,000 meters. Okay, this seems a good point to start shedding kind of that initial orbital speed. Because the last thing we want to do is be kind of losing altitude very slowly but going along the ground at high speed, because that means when we hit it, it's just gonna break off the limbs and then we'll crash and explode, and we'll make a crater, we'll just make a skid mark, which is not really better. Right, there we go. We've killed most of the speed down to about 40 meters per second, and we're just kind of going to hold this kind of speed. We're still reasonably high, 12,000 meters, so we've got a long way to come down, but we're going pretty much vertically downwards now. We're in the sun, on the bright side of the moon. We've got plenty of electric charge. We've still got half of our tanks full of fuel. We've got plenty of monopropellant, so this is good. It's looking like, as long as I don't screw up, this is going to be a successful landing. Now watch me screw up, misjudge where the ground is, flip over and explode. What I'm just doing here is I'm trying to line up the shadow with the object that's casting it. So you can see here that on this strut there is, and here there's a shadow that corresponds to those fuel tanks with nose cones. And the reason I'm doing that is so that when I start coming into proximity to the ground here, I know where the shadow is going to be, so I kind of can see how close I'm getting to it. get a little bit more speed here. Just re-angle myself, so I should see my shadow come down this way when we start getting in proximity with the ground. So now under 4,000 meters, so we're starting to get quite close to where the ground can be. So I just killed pretty much all of the speed there, just so that we're going to come down very slowly. And I'm just going to adjust the thrust so that the speed here, if possible, stays the same, but just barely clicks over. There we go. So that's a good amount of thrust. So we're going to maintain that quite slow speed. It'll increase a little bit as we come down, but it's not using much fuel. Some very little throttle here with these engines, not producing a huge amount of thrust. So this fuel will last us quite a long time at this kind of thrust. So it's just be able to set us nicely down, and then we can just give a nice burst when we get to the bottom, just to really get our speed down to like maybe, you know, a couple of meters per second. So let's just try and move this retrograde marker right over the vertical position. There we go, that's much better. So now we're basically having no horizontal speed at all. It's all vertical speed, which is ideal because we can easily scrub that vertical speed. You know, we're sitting in the vertical plane, that's great. Any horizontal speed is a little more difficult once you get close to ground because you have to cant over the craft. But yeah, it's definitely looking like we're getting close to the ground now. So now we're under 2,000 meters, we must be really getting close to the ground now. I'm just expecting a shadow any second. So I've slowed really right down now, just because I don't want to smash into the ground. And I'm also worried that this might be a slight slope, so I'm not going to see the shadow very early. Ooh. Yeah, it's looking a lot faster because we're getting a lot closer to the ground now. So there's the shadow. Ooh. Right, let's get this sitting. Oh, wrong way. Let's just really kill that speed. Really kill that speed. Try and get rid of this lateral as well. That's good. Too much that way. Oh shit, this is not good, not good. Don't explode. Oh, well, we're doing flips. Nope, we lost the solar panel. Well, we lost an engine as well. Well, we're on the moon. This isn't exactly how I envisioned landing, but we're on the moon. Yeah, RCS is not going to be enough to get us away from here. Well, let's get Billy Bob and Kerbal. Get him out of there. Oh, nice fall straight down onto the surface there. Oh, a little bit glitching. Yeah, we're on the moon. Yeah, this is not a great design. Oh, let's get that on. Let's get his light on. Let's run him across the surface. Jump, and there we go. Let's get a good distance away and look at this majestic craft sitting on its side on the moon. Ooh, there we go. Oh, bounce, bounce, bounce. Hey, and we didn't jinx ourselves. We anti-jinxed ourselves with the SS Crater. We have landed in a crater, but fortunately it's not one that we created. Yeah, that's awesome. That's one small step for a Kerbal, one giant leap for Kerbal kind. It's a shame he wasn't called Neil, really. It'd be cool if you could actually name them rather than just getting random ones. I think there is a Kerbal creator, as I understand, but I've never really done that before. I've just been too interested in making ridiculously stupid spaceship. I thought we've landed with the catch downwards. Might be difficult to get him back in. Well, we shall see. Come on, grab. Okay, yeah, that's a small window we've got there. Had to fly up, grab, before we smash our head on the thing. Yeah! Look at that. Well, we'll get the solar panels that survived out and aren't pointing into the ground. Actually, here's a thing. Oh, that's the one that broken. Let's actually put these back in and see if we can do a trick. Let's see what happens if we do this. Okay. Now if we raise that and then rotate. Oh, that's going to break. Right, I'm just trying to get this thing to flip over. It's not really working. Come on. Oh, it might be. It might be. Come on. Just being nice. Settle. Good. Now roll over. We almost had it. Let's see, if we raise this, might have to just raise all of these. No, that's not. Well, actually, now if we lower and then quickly lower. Okay, we're now there. Good. Let's lower that one. Now we're back where we were. Well, yeah. Well, we made it to the moon. That'll help. Yes, this looks exactly like a lunar lander should do. Apart from... Anyway. Let's head back to the Space Center. And we're back. So the game crashed. Which, this is still a very early beta. It's not a finished release game. And also I'm recording it at the same time, which... with a lot of games, it kind of tends to make them a bit unstable, just because there's a lot of processing going on. That is kind of because it's recording direct from the game screen, and also it's having to encode all of the recording information and all of the rest of it onto the same hard drive that it's reading information off, and so forth. So it does tend to get games a little bit unstable. So we'll just get back into it and see where we were. Right, so we're now going to build pods to stick onto the HMR Sparkle. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a docking port right on the front. So kind of this is going to be our kind of base section, because kind of what we want is for this one we're going to have a load of these hitchhike containers, so we can get the couple of Kerbins that are in this thing for the other ones that have batteries and RCS fuel and other things. They can come and sit in these because these can take up to 4 Kerbals. So if we have 2 of those, that looks good. And then we're going to need RCS. Let's actually do this because this is cool. You could just have a normal tank, but hey, screw it, this is more fun. Boop. And then boop. And boop. Hey, that looks cool. Right, so gonna need a load of RCS thrusters. 4 there. 4 there. Okay, and so there's kind of our... not sure why I did that, but there we go. Right, so that's kind of what all of ours are going to look like. Basically, these sections in the middle are going to be replaced by, you know, different things like, for example, these big battery blocks, or a couple of these big RCS fuel tanks, just like, you know, 4 of those. But this is our kind of basic pod design. So this is going to be pod. Oop, caps lock is still on. Habitation. There we go. So now all we have to do is mount this on some kind of big rocket thing and get it right up there. And oh dear, we're going to have to try and dock, which I'm not good at, so that's why I've got the control arms. Let's just hope they work. Okay, and this is what I've gone for. So what we're going to do here is use the Ascent autopilot of MechJeb, and what you can do is you can time your launch to rendezvous with a target. So we want to dock with the HMR Sparkle, so that's what I'm going to ask it to do. So the rest of it should all work out. So we're going to engage, and then it will speed itself up so that it kind of plots a flight path to meet up with that as it goes round its orbit. So 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engage. That's good. That seems to be pretty good. It's a lot simpler rocket design, but then this kind of needs some level of accuracy on it. I've got a single solar panel here, so hopefully there's enough. There's a moment where these engines are on, they generate some electric charge. I'm not entirely sure how this kind of charge thing works for these. I don't know whether they're using it or not, but it's dark and I'm not losing some, so I'm not entirely sure what's going on. So that seems nice and stable, so we're just going to fast forward it while MechJeb gets us really close, hopefully, to the HMR Sparkle, and then we can do the hilariously fun watching me try to dock. Okay, so we're on the final stage fuel tanks. Now is the question... Hey, look! No, that's the... Oh, right. Okay, so this is quite a long way to go, but we're quite light now, so yeah, you can see the debris we left behind for the SS Crater that didn't make it. So that's now circularized our orbit quite nicely. So we're just going to bring up these two because we're going to need those. And we're going to select the HMR Sparkle as target. So we're going to wait for the Ascent autopilot to disengage by itself by circularizing the orbit, and then we're going to use the other orbital operations to try and get into very close proximity to the HMR Sparkle. So now we play the waiting game. We're just going to orbit around and try and get our habitation pods into a close orbit to Sparkle. So currently we're about 180 degrees of the circle out, so we're going to wait for this to come round, then we're going to try and boost up so that we match the orbital altitude all the way around, and then slowly bunch ourselves in to within, well, as close as we can get to touching. Generally, through this kind of orbital manoeuvres, you can get in with a couple of kilometres, and then you kind of just have to, well, I wing it from there. So, my guilty little secret with this is I've only ever managed to successfully dock once. All the other times I have missed, run out of fuel, or crashed into the thing I was trying to dock with, or blown up bits of what I'm docking, and yeah, it's not gone very well. So that's why I've installed the arms. So I'm hoping they help. They might not. I have to get in range of the arms to start with, so Then hope we can get close enough. I'm going to try and get really close, jettison these external fuel tanks, and then just coast in on the RCS forward and reverse thrust until I'm within range of the arms. I'm going to then try and kill my relative speed as much as possible, quickly switch through the tracking station menu to the Sparkle and grab with the arm, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, we're right close in now, so I'm gonna have a go at docking. It won't go very well. Right, let's get rid of those. Come on. Come on, come on, come on. Yes! Yes! Look at that! It's docked and it's a bit wobbly. Actually, get rid of SAS, that's good. Amazing! That's amazing! I've managed to dock. I managed to dock and I didn't even cheat by using the arms. That's a full-on vanilla Kerbal Space Project docking. Oh, I'm smiling about as much as this would be if you put a big smiley face on the front of it. That's the second time I've ever managed to dock, and the first things I docked were basically like 2 things of these, so it was a lot easier. So now I'm gonna do this exact same design, but make 3 different versions of them, one with fuels, one with some more batteries, so RCS fuel, batteries, and I'm guessing I need another one. The other one is the lander, so I'm going to need to have something that's about this size, but that's like a lander.